but I wanted to start today's episode with a quick story, a legend. So in 1961, John F. Kennedy was visiting NASA, and a janitor walks by with a broom, and John F. Kennedy asks him, "What are you doing? Why are you working so late?" and starts a conversation. And the janitor responds, "I'm helping to put a man on the moon." So I'm a bit jaded to think that this actually happened, but even if it wasn't a historical fact that this conversation happened, I love the parable. I love the value of that conversation. He didn't say that I'm just a janitor. He said that he's helping with this much, much bigger goal and this much bigger purpose. And I definitely think that relates to pharmacy, and especially pharmacy technicians.
So you're a senior. So you haven't finished your degree. You're a senior in Central Florida.
Yeah, University of Central Florida. I will be graduating this summer. Finally. So I've kind of been a little bit part-time since COVID started, but it'll be this upcoming summer that I graduate with health sciences.
So where do you go from there?
What's the next steps?
Well, definitely, pharmacy is kind of a direction I've had my heart in. Working in an independent pharmacy has just kind of made me fall in love with the field.
Right.
Nice.
It's expensive to go to pharmacy school, so I've heard.
Yeah, I was about to ask. So do you see yourself stepping up into the next tier, which is pharmacy school?
Not immediately, I don't think. I think for now, I'm really, really happy where I am as a technician. I find so much joy and so much kind of love in what I do in the community that I get to support. But also, there's other opportunities. I think I'm really interested in public health, working in a public health department or something like that, CDC. It's a fantastic kind of time, I think, and a really exciting time for public health kind of coming off of this post-COVID. We're not really in the thick of it where things are exciting and hectic and crazy, but we've seen kind of how, useful and how important in some cases, these public health rules are, and just how much they have a lot of impact, on the community, and especially when it comes to outbreaks and things like that.
Interesting. Would that be a Washington, D.C.? Would you be a Washington, D.C. kind of guy?
That's a little far. It's a little cold for me for my Floridian blood. But certainly, local, state, and if that's where, things headed, I absolutely wouldn't be opposed to something like that. But right now I'm keeping a little bit closer to home, maybe a little bit closer to the tropics. I'm definitely a Florida boy, born and raised, and so not quite looking to move out to the snow just yet.
Yeah.
Maybe somewhere along the eastern coastline, though.
Yeah.
And we've got some great pharmacies there, too, as far as North Carolina, Savannah, that, you would definitely get a great education and get your feet on the ground. Yeah. So any advice that you would offer up for pharmacy technicians today, or anybody out of college or out of high school, looking to get into, pharmacy technicians, what would your advice be?
Yeah, definitely. I would say for anybody who's in my position where they were pursuing a health sciences degree, maybe they didn't have a lot of experience in the medical field, but that, they know it's something that they might want to do. Being a pharmacy technician, I say hands down, is probably one of the best experiences that you can have. You are getting a lot of really great information on medical coding, on billing. You're doing a lot of work with patients. You get to sort of learn about all these different medications that are going to be very, very common in medical practice. And you don't have that really kind of high pressure that you would have maybe, say, as a nurse or a CNA or as a emergency room tech or something like that. It's a much lower key environment, and especially if you're a people person like me, it's a great way to just connect with people and to really kind of help foster a great kind of community, especially if you're doing independent work. I think that's probably one of the most valuable experiences that I've had.
All right, I got one more to add on top of that. So, in advice to anybody that's going to pharmacy tech school, what would your advice and experience be? Because you worked at a big box chain. We're not going to mention who, but what would you say that your advice or based on your experience, what would your advice be between big box chain and an independent?
I would say there's no shame and there's no harm in going in and being a part of a big corporation or a big box chain. I think the experience was great. I got to learn a lot about sort of those corporate policies. I think a lot of the kind of, CYA information of just kind of how to protect yourself and how to protect your patients. I think you get a really kind of good crash course in that in the corporate environment. And then you're getting paid while you're learning. And I think that's so invaluable for people like myself who were in school, who don't have a lot of extra, expendable income. I would not have been able to go and get a pharmacist technician from a pay-for school. It just was not in the cards.
Yeah.
So being able to work and to at the same time get that experience, to be able to get that certificate and eventually get that registration with the state, all for, on the company's dime, was absolutely invaluable. And then, once that's happened, once you've gotten your foot in the door, you have a lot of options. Independent, of course, the biggest is going to be those big chains, of course, but there's a lot of, even smaller kind of more niche positions within those chains that you can find something that you really like. It might not be independent right away. I'd say that's a very good goal, is to try to find an independent you can work at. I think it's a fantastic experience. But you're going to find a lot more opportunities elsewhere.
Nice.
It was kind of like boot camp for you. Like
you
went to the military.
Yeah,
the military
balanced,
paid for your
very
paid for your certificate,
answer. He's
your
already tried to
degree.
get to DC. So.
And now you're out. You've got your education, and now you're looking for the bigger picture, which is independent pharmacy.
Talking about the team, Sirena, you said that you speak on talking about building team and things like that. Any tips for what's really worked with you guys in the pharmacy?
For us, it's definitely been a fly by the seat of your pants, which isn't always the best way to do it. When we decided to develop my role, which is the director of pharmacy operations, it was literally, we were at NCPA in 2019.
Wow.
We met Cody Clifton.
Okay.
Randomly, which we thought was randomly. We found out it wasn't quite as random. We were targeted.
You were targeted.
Yes, but and Kari was introducing me, and she was like, your title, she was like, is Director of Pharmacy Operations. And that was basically how I got my promotion.
That was 1 minute and 30 seconds after I hired Cody Clifton, 2 minutes after I met him.
Yes. And then
busy few minutes.
We came back, but it was essentially because we had purchased a second store and needed a role at both stores of, I don't know of importance, but just basically leadership roles in both stores, knowing that Kari was going to be taken from the Duval store and really put into our Granite Falls location. That move, though, from technician into more of a leadership role, it's really difficult to get kind of, I mean, you've been working side by side with all of these people for 15 plus years. I mean, granted, most of them hadn't been there that long, but to make that kind of transition is really difficult. So Duval Family Drugs and Kari and I decided that I would take some management courses through a local community college. So I did that online, which kind of helped develop some skills and some, management skills, some negotiating skills, just a few things to get under my belt. As Kari mentioned, she's an amazing business owner. Like, honestly, she's a great business owner, but management skills.
It's kind of the my way or the highway sort of mentality.
It's like Hulk smash.
The problem is that's how you manage.
Is the problem. So
back to the birds of a feather.
Yes.
So there's been a lot of learning, a lot of just, again, fly by the seat of your pants. I feel like, though, the management courses in the community college really helped. And then I think age has helped a lot. I mean, not that I wasn't already old when I got the position, but I think being in the company for 15 years and not being 20 coming into that position really helped.
Yeah.
Like we said in the beginning, I had a tendency to be really spicy when I was young. So that's helped some.
We've both mellowed with age.
Yes.
With
yes.
age comes wisdom.
Yes. And then just my knowledge base has really been something. So a lot of people come to me with questions already. I was already kind of in a leadership role, especially with like the computer system. Everybody comes to me with all of their questions. If they can't figure it out, they know that I can. Yep. And then I act as a liaison a lot of times in between the staff and Kari. So if anybody has problems or questions, because Kari's just really not on location a lot. And obviously I have a direct line to Kari. So anytime there's something that's going on, if it's not something that we can handle amongst ourselves, then I kind of act as that liaison in between the staff and Kari too. So just having a good relationship with Kari's helped a lot.
Yeah, and that's kind of that servant leader that, you know, she promoted somebody who's helping everybody else, right? Who was their go-to person already. We try to do that. We try to find people to promote who are already doing the job of serving a group, right? And just putting them above is kind of, this is the person to serve you in a management capacity.
It does get tricky though. I mean, there are definitely, you know, among the technician roles, you know, it's, for some of the staff, it was hard for them to see another technician as their boss now.
Right.
And we've weeded through a couple that just, it didn't work for. One thing I can say for Sirena is that she's also a lifelong learner. She's one of those people who's always looking for information, for something new. She's the podcast girl. You and I have already talked about how I feel about them typically. My mind is, you know, I turn on a podcast in the car and, you know,
you're
2 miles down the road,
else.
My mind is already someplace else.
Yeah.
I'm like, what did they just say? I have no idea. So I can't focus like that.
I too enjoy, like she said, I enjoy learning. I always want more. And so I have a tendency to get involved in everything. So being involved in like CPESN has been wonderful. And I'm on the Council of Experts for PS3, the Pharmacy Services Support Staff, which has been really great for helping develop my leadership role and really been a phenomenal way of helping support my staff and helping develop all of them, you know, helping them develop out all of their roles and really helped switch my mindset too in not just referring to everybody as, you know, not pigeonholing people into just like, you're a tech, you just need to be standing here filling prescriptions. But we have, since I've been in this role, which it's been, I believe it's been since December. I think it was October that
October through March was the initial contract.
Yeah, when it started, it has helped us change our workflow in the pharmacy immensely. And so, you know, being able to be involved in all of those things has really helped develop out my leadership role too. So it's not so much that I look at myself as a manager as much as a leader and really just trying to help keep that leadership role involved and helping steer people in a certain direction.
Usually we have pharmacists and business owners that are joining us, but really what makes the independent pharmacy world so unique, I think, is the specialized role of pharmacy technicians and the pride they take in their role. So I always love when we can have a rock star technician join and share their story, tell us a little bit about their experience and how they're making a difference in their community. So today our guest is one that is definitely familiar. If you're in the state of Ohio, if you're in ASHP, if you're in pioneerrx support, maybe. Danielle Pierce, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. So you've been a friend of Pioneer, I guess. We've known you for quite a long time. I met you in Ohio years ago as an installer, I think. And was it Pickerington, Ohio Discount Drug Mart. So before this interview, I actually went back and, went to Google Maps because that visual always just takes me right back. And I was like, oh my gosh, it seems like just yesterday, but it was quite a long time ago. So we've been Facebook friends and I've seen you grow on LinkedIn and it's been great to watch your career and all of those different paths.
Oh, thank you. You as well. And all of the ways that you've come up through Pioneer. And it's a lot of fun. And again, being able to grow with Pioneer in my role has been fantastic. We started working at Discount Drug Mart. They switched over to Pioneer. Oh my gosh, I can't even remember how long ago. And so I'd used Pioneer for several years there before I switched over to where I am now with Equitas Health. And we had another system that was kind of gross. And I may have gone, hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, let's get to something better. So within 7 to 8 months of me being there, we switched into Pioneer, and we haven't looked back since.
Excellent. So anybody who's not familiar with Discount Drug Mart, that's a pharmacy chain around, I guess, 100 stores or so, serving Ohio. So great pharmacy chain if you are, in Ohio, and then you were a technician there, which is definitely a unique experience because you kind of had a blend of, the chain pharmacy, central office, sharing patients, very organized structure that you have to have within a chain pharmacy, while still being an independent, pharmacy with a patient care focus.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I can say. I'm so glad that I started off my pharmacy career at an independent chain, right? I got to see what it was like to be at a chain without actually being at the chain. And there was a lot more ability to take care of patients in a very unique and different way. The populations of patients that we served in Pickerington was very unique. We had a very large age range that we would serving all the way down from pediatric to geri care, and it was not like it was hyper focused in any one thing. And so I really loved the experience, and I kind of became the coupon queen at Drug Mart. I loved to save people money on things because hey, there's copay cards and stuff out there, and that was just, as a technician, that became kind of my MO, right? Like that was the thing I was out there trying to do, was to save a patient money, because hey, if you can save money on these 3 or 4 prescriptions, maybe you can save up to take your family to Cedar Point for the week. And little things like that. So that's a really great experience, and I wouldn't trade my time at Drug Mart for the world. The connections that I made, the patients, and the experience of working with some amazing pharmacists and technicians was absolutely wonderful. And I will say our executive staff that we had there, Jason Briscoe, I know, and he's moved on to new things too, but my gosh, he's absolutely just amazing in the way he's been able to grow the company and work with Pioneer to kind of further and advance things even within that organization.
Yeah. I spent a lot of time at the DDM stores years ago, and it was a really great experience. But I think you touched on something really interesting, and that at a chain store, traditionally, when you think of a big box store, you think about efficiencies and scalability and getting the order in and out, and that's really kind of the game plan. But, when you're focusing on any way that you can help, and whether that's, finding those clinical solutions, or, if you can find a way to really serve that patient and save a patient a few dollars even, that's fundamentally a different mentality, I think, that we associate with independent pharmacies is having that, I'm here to do whatever I can. And that's part of the joy of, clocking in every day. So I love that.
Yeah, it's a very unique thing and I will say, from my coworkers and peers that have worked in chain retail, often I hear like, you don't have time, but sometimes it's about making that time. And I will say Drug Mart afforded us the ability to not have time, or to not have, counters and measures and clocks and how many are you filling per hour and things like that. Like it allowed us to provide great patient care.
I should say too, I often feel like we're, kind of hard on the big guys, but there's great people behind the counter in those pharmacies too. So I had to go to a big box recently because it was after hours, and it was an emergency inhaler, and couldn't wait, needed it then, and yeah. So and I haven't had a prescription filled at a big box. Oh, gosh, years and years and years and years and years. And I went in, and, the pharmacist was running around like crazy. She was doing data entry. She rang me up. She also had to, go in and do the billing. I mean, she was all over the board. So great people in those behind those counters too. I don't want to feel like I'm alienating them out there.
In every pharmacy, there are great technicians. And honestly, I'm a big proponent. I'm a director of pharmacy now with Equitas Health. And I am I'm a technician. And so for me, it's really important to empower technicians. And I always kind of fully believe that a technician runs the pharmacy. Like your pharmacist, I don't need your license to run the pharmacy. I need you to check prescriptions and counsel, because legally those are the things I can't do. But I mean, let us set the pace, let us run the show, let us orchestrate. And we're the ones that are talking to the patients the most. We're going to make those great patient connections, and we're going to find those little things that are going to help a patient and keep a patient there. And, often at chain pharmacies and the big box, it's harder to do, right? Because of the sheer volume. But that doesn't negate the fact that there are great staff and great technicians there. And trust me, when they're looking else, I want to hire them up.
One of the things that I think defines a small business is that you have that room to grow, and a successful small business that touches the community is going to have those authentic kind of, woven tapestry of the people who are contributing, which you just, you can't do that on a huge scale. It just doesn't really work that way. You need people to do a consistent, A, B, and C. Yeah. So I think independent pharmacies especially really lend themselves to technicians kind of, branching into areas where they can make a difference. So looking back, can you kind of think about maybe the first time or one of the first times that you were, doing technician duties, making sure the right pills are in the bottle, and then, right? So you saw an opportunity for one of those first and thens.
There's been a lot of those.
Yeah.
But the first one I remember very clearly. I was working on the bench at Buford, and Ron Davis, who was the owner at the time, and he also worked on the counter every single day. That was his passion, talking to patients. Comes up to me and he goes, "I'm tired of spending my time on the phone with insurance companies for these stupid rejections. I want you to figure it out." Okay. He just didn't want to deal with it anymore. He was there to talk to the patients. That's what we're all there for. He's like, "But I want somebody who actually is into this kind of puzzle, but has the," I hate to say, we're going to use the word gumption, and that's going to show my age. But like
I love that
gumption
word. We don't use it enough. Yeah.
You know what I mean? To just, get on the phone with these PBMs and like figure out what's going on. And I was like, okay. And he literally just handed me like the scrap piece of paper. "Here's the prescription numbers I have rejected. Can you just go just fix it?" Which ended up being a tagline of mine for a long time, was just fix it. And so I got an office.
Okay.
A few weeks later, they gave me an office. And this was back on the old QS1 CRX platform. And you had an online screen where you just watched the claims go through. Love it. It's my favorite. And the good thing about that system is you had all of your field names, the codes, like the field codes. And so that's how I learned how to use every other pharmacy system in the world. It's all super, super easy now because you know what you're looking at. And I remember being back there and I literally watched the online screen go. And I'd fix any rejection before the people on the front counter even knew it was rejected.
Oh, nice.
And so they got to be pretty spoiled. But that was what I did all day. I mean, I did other things. I took care of the prior auth. I did some DME billing, reconciliation, and workers' comp claims. And that was back when you filled out 1,500 forms by hand and mailed them in, and then hopefully they got there. But I would watch just that screen and check these rejections. And it was before, prior auths were a thing, but they were not as prevalent as they are now. So I would take care of the prior auths, and you faxed them, and you got fax responses and things like that. And then it kind of escalated from there. We had a board of pharmacy inspection, and, it was just little things that, you learn from these inspections. And I remember he came in and gave me the book of all the laws and all the things. And he's like, "Research all of this, read this book, cover to cover, and fix everything there is on this list." Got it.
Which, as a pharmacist business owner, that has to be what a great move to make. Just to say, "Here you go."
Right. And that's just kind of how it grew from there.
Yeah.
Was here, do it, fix it. And there was like a little mini plaque on my desk for a while that just said "fix it" in quotes. A lot of pharmacy residents have come through in my time, a lot, and one of them will still text me and say, "Hey, fix it." And just a random text every so often, and I know exactly what he's talking about.
That's great.
So I was the fix it girl. Just fix it. I don't want to know what you did. I don't care what you did. Just fix it.
But you also are involved in CPSN. And also I was wanting to ask you about kind of the beacon piece, which is kind of new, I believe.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
So I would be remiss if I don't say that I almost dyed my hair blue for this because
that would have been great.
I
For
know.
the podcast? Is that what you're saying? For the podcast?
Yes, just specifically for this. I joke
I'm pretending that you have a pioneerrx logo on that sleeve, but I'm just going to pretend.
my appointment's set up. Right?
Okay.
Or a CPSN logo. Either way.
So the Sirena, you have had her on.
Yes.
She's
Yep.
rock star technician.
She
has
is a rock
purple
star.
hair. Meredy was on with Will.
Yep.
Has pink hair.
Yep.
I said, they're both CPSN beacons to tie it all back in together. And so I thought maybe I need to have a trademark hair color, and blue seems available. So,
We might be able to do that with AI. We might be able to change it for the At this point, change your hair to blue. Snap.
We'll add it in post for sure.
We'll do it in post editing.
No, so CPSN beacons. So what we found and how I actually got started with CPSN and Flip the Pharmacy was the PS3, so Pharmacy Services Support Staff, right? So that's another webinar through Flip the Pharmacy that I'd like to mention. And so that's for your technicians and your support staff. Again, back to like, it's all led by technicians and support staff. So we're talking at the same level, so peer to peer. And getting your staff bought in from other pharmacies, right? So CPSN has the Luminary network.
Yep.
So those are all those thought leaders, those mentors, those people that are doing the work every day, but they're pharmacists. And so each network has luminaries. And now with technicians that are getting into elevated roles because of the transition and the practice transformation. So they need a network as well, right? So we have beacons, so they're counterparts to your luminaries. And the goal is here so that in your network, you have a beacon who's someone that your technicians, your support staff can reach out to. This is similar to the way that pharmacists do luminaries.
That's huge.
But also having just that network of you're not alone, and this is a career that we can all grow together in.
Yeah, I love it.
That's huge. That's awesome.
And because it is super new, like, so we love if you're a pharmacist listening and you're CPSN, let us know. Like we want those rockstar technicians, and it's not that we want to move them into like take away from their time. Because I heard the other day, Nicolette Matthey, I love her. I'm name dropping everywhere, but she was on one of our podcasts.
So are we though.
That's all right.
That's what we do.
One of our webinars, she's so great, and she was so generous with her time. But she was talking about marketing. She said that with a technician, like if you have a really great technician, that pharmacists find they just keep giving them more and more work, right? So the technician keeps taking it because they do it. And so in her reference was that you want to give your technicians time to do the duties that you're like putting off on them, right? So CPSN beacons, we're not giving them just some extra work to do, right? But there are those patriots out there. There's technicians that are patriots for other technicians. So it's just a really awesome staff development, professional development.
Now, Sirena works for CPSN full time now. Is that right? Did Sirena?
I believe part-time.
Part-time.
So she works with Washington State Board of Pharmacy.
Okay. Yeah, because I know she had left Kari's pharmacy for a better opportunity.
She's knocking everything out of the park.
Yes.
There's nothing that I tell you. And without Flip the Pharmacy and CPSN, I mean, I was talking to you over the trade shows of the summer. People are asking, like, what's in it for me, right? Everybody wants to know what's in it for them. And outside of just all of the payer opportunities and special purpose networks and things that you can get paid for the services that you're providing, you're also got this great network of people that
God, that's
are just so supportive and
and encouraging and teach you how to, these little tiny tricks that you could do in your pharmacy.
Yeah, so CPSN does CPSN Pharmacy of the Year. Did they do Pharmacist of the Year and Technician of the Year?
They did Luminary of the Year.
They did Luminary. So now they need to do, CPSN needs to do Beacon
of the Year. That's true.
Somebody talk to Troy.
All right. It's probably already in the works, honestly. Because the Beacon part, isn't that new this year or last year? It kind of got started. It was a kind of a thought, an idea.
We could do it at
last year.
CPSN, do the awards come on, and have a little gospel choir come out with This Little Light of Mine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let.
I've heard you say before that you just really want a choir.
I wanted the gospel choir. I'd want it really bad. I was just trying to figure out how to get it in there.
We got to work.
Got it now.
We got to work it in.
I need to sponsor the CPSN, the Luminary and the Beacon of the Year. I need to have the gospel choir come out at NCPA and sing This Little Light of Mine.
That would be great.
That's right.
Honestly, that's perfect.
And everybody can.
That's perfect.
I do love the karaoke, so I mean, I'm down.
I'm down. Well, if you've got a lead tech
or something with light,
and you're in CPSN or you haven't thought about it, if you have a lead tech that like wants another network to lean on or learn from, that's what the beacons are for.
And what a great thing, inspire them. Yeah, pharmacists can't do it all.
That's not anywhere really. Like if you think through it, I mean, I know NCPA has some technician programs for sure, but man, just as far as like joining, a reason to join, and if it's what's in it for me. Just the network alone of being able to lean on another pharmacist, or now if you got a super strong tech, lean on another tech.
And to me, you start getting reasons. You know, a lot of people are like, well, I'll join CPSN when they're doing something for me, right? When they get the thing in my state, when they get enough of it, blah, 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 right? But these connections and this kind of things could start to be reasons to be in there, right? You start building inspiration and
it's like a practice transformation network, really. Look at it that way.
Kind of like, what would we call something like that? Oh, Flip the Pharmacy.
Probably Flip the Pharmacy. Name. Yeah, just came up with that.
Yeah.
What we do without you?
We're geniuses. Troy's like,
and another thing, when those pharmacists and pharmacy owners that say like, "What's in it for me?" I don't think that they're necessarily the ones that are taking the first step, right? So they're not at the start of that bell curve. And that's okay, because you have network facilitators and luminaries in your network that will help you. They'll show you the different payer programs that are offered and get you set up and onboarding, and that just keep you going, right? So there's resources out there. It's not like you're thrown to the wind. There's people, great people that are on this podcast, people that we hear from all the time that are everywhere, that you have access to them.
Thank you for watching the Catalyst Pharmacy Podcast.
If you enjoyed today's episode,
please like, subscribe, and follow us wherever you get your podcast.
Give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts to help us reach more pharmacy professionals like you.